Ever scroll through Reddit and stumble upon a question that just makes you kind of stop and think?
Oh yeah, definitely Reddit's it can be a gold mine for those head-scratching, thought-provoking conversations for sure.
Well, we're diving into one of those today. It's from the Ask Men Advice subreddit, and the question is deceptively simple, I think. Why do some women post provocative pictures online and then seem frustrated when they receive attention focused solely on their appearance?
It's a fascinating question, and I can already see how it sparks a ton of debate. I mean, it touches on so many aspects of social dynamics, self-presentation and the often really confusing world of online validation.
Exactly, and the original poster even anticipated some pushback. I thought it was interesting that he specifically chose Ask Men Advice because he thought other subreddits might shut down the conversation with just a simple her body, her choice response.
Yeah, which of course is a valid point, but it also really highlights the poster's like genuine curiosity. He's trying to understand the motivation behind the behavior, not just dismiss it.
Right, and that's what makes this deep dive so interesting. We're not here to judge or take sides, but to explore the different perspectives and maybe even uncover some insights about ourselves along the way.
Right, let's unpack some of these comments and see where they lead us.
Okay, so one of the top comments comes from Yankiman320, and they make a pretty bold comparison, saying it's like men who flaunt their wealth and then complain about gold diggers.
Interesting. What's fascinating here is that this comment and several others like it, they all highlight this tendency that we have to lead with what we perceive as our most valuable asset. Whether it's physical attractiveness, wealth, or something else entirely, we put it front and center without always considering the implications.
It's like we're saying, this is what I have to offer, take it or leave it. But then we're surprised when the attention we get isn't necessarily what we were hoping for.
Exactly. And this brings up this whole concept of intent versus outcome. Are we truly aware of the potential consequences of how we present ourselves, or are we just reacting to the attention that we receive?
Yeah, there are also some interesting parallels that are drawn between men using money to attract women and then complaining about gold diggers. It seems like there's a common thread of hypocrisy running through some of these arguments.
That's a great point, and it speaks to a larger societal issue of double standards. We often judge others for behaviors that we ourselves engage in without recognizing the inconsistency.
Okay, but let's move beyond the more simplistic arguments for a second. ThinkPad Laptop, a non-binary commenter, offered a really insightful perspective, arguing that focusing on genuine passions instead of just these superficial traits leads to much more fulfilling connections.
I love this point. They gave examples like car enthusiasts finding like-minded partners or fashion lovers bonding over designer shows. It's about showcasing your authentic self and attracting people who actually resonate with your interests.
So instead of leading with what you think will get you attention, lead with what you're genuinely passionate about.
Precisely. Because when you do that, you're much more likely to attract people who will value you for who you are, not just for how you look or what you possess.
And speaking of attraction, another commenter, ToastyCat830, brought up the dopamine hit of social media validation. He even shared a personal anecdote about feeling good after posting a thirst-trappy picture in a grooming sub, but then feeling conflicted by the unwanted sexual attention.
It's a classic example of the attention economy at play, right? Social media platforms are designed to keep us engaged. And one of the most effective ways that they do that is by triggering these dopamine releases that make us feel good, even if it's just for a fleeting moment.
But those fleeting moments can be addictive, right? We chase that validation, even if it comes from a place we don't necessarily want to be associated with.
Absolutely. And that's where things can get tricky. We get caught in a cycle of seeking validation, receiving attention that might not align with our true intentions, and then feeling frustrated or even exploited.
So it's not just about being mindful of how we present ourselves, but also about recognizing the power dynamics at play and understanding how the platforms themselves are designed to manipulate our behavior.
Yeah, it's like we're all playing this game with these complex rules that no one fully understands.
And the stakes are high. Our self-esteem, our relationships, our sense of identity, it all gets tied up in how we present ourselves online and the reactions that we receive.
That's why it's so crucial to develop a strong sense of self-awareness, to be able to kind of step back and say, okay, what am I hoping to achieve by posting this? What kind of attention do I want to attract? And am I prepared for the potential consequences?
That's so much easier said than done, though, isn't it? It's easy to get caught up in the moment, especially when you see those accounts with seemingly perfect lives and thousands of likes on every post.
Right. And that's where it's important to remember that social media is often a curated version of reality. We're seeing the highlight reel, not the behind the scenes struggles or the everyday mundane moments.
So we're comparing ourselves to these like idealized versions of others, which can lead to feelings of inadequacy and insecurity.
Exactly, and that's why it's so important to focus on our own values and goals rather than getting caught up in what everyone else is doing, to curate our own online experiences in a way that feels authentic and fulfilling.
So how do we apply this to the original question about women posting provocative pictures? How can we move beyond the simplistic arguments and find a more nuanced understanding?
I think it starts with recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all answer. Every individual has their own motivations and intentions.
Right, we can't assume that every woman who posts a revealing picture is seeking attention, or that every man who comments is, being creepy or whatever.
Right, it's about acknowledging the complexity of human behavior and avoiding generalizations. Some women might be using provocative pictures as a filtering mechanism, wanting to weed out partners who are only interested in superficial things.
Others might be exploring their sexuality, or simply expressing themselves creatively.
Exactly, and just like we discussed with, showcasing passions and all that, it's about aligning your presentation with your desired outcomes.
But even then, the attention we receive isn't always within our control, right?
Absolutely. That's where the concept of context comes in. The platform, the audience, the caption, all of these factors influence how our posts are perceived.
And then there's the algorithm, which, as we discussed earlier, plays a huge role in shaping our online experiences.
Yeah, it's like the invisible hand that decides what content we see and who sees our content.
So even if we're posting with a specific intent, the algorithm can amplify or distort that message, leading to unintended consequences.
Precisely. And this is where personal responsibility comes in. We need to be aware of the power of the algorithm and make conscious choices about how we engage with it.
Do you mean like being more selective about the accounts that we follow and the content that we consume?
Exactly. It's about curating our own online environments, seeking out diverse perspectives, and being mindful of the rabbit holes we go down.
So much of this comes back to just being intentional and thoughtful about how we interact online.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that our online actions have real-world consequences, both for ourselves and for others.
And being respectful of the fact that behind every profile picture is a real person with their own thoughts, feelings, and experiences.
Yeah, that's a great point. We often forget that in the heat of online debates or when we're, just scrolling through an endless feed of curated content.
I think this conversation is a good reminder to pause, reflect, and maybe even adjust our online behavior to ensure that it aligns with our values and intentions.
I agree, and it's a reminder that we have more control over our online experiences than we might realize. We can choose to be more mindful, more intentional, and more respectful in our interactions.
Like we're all contributing to the culture of the internet, and we have a responsibility to make it a space where people feel safe, valued, and connected.
I think that's a wonderful sentiment to carry with us as we continue to navigate this ever-evolving digital landscape.
We've been unpacking this Reddit thread about women posting provocative pictures online and the attention they receive. It's been a roller coaster of differing opinions and thought-provoking insights, for sure.
It really highlights how complex these issues are. It's not just about individual choices, but about societal norms, platform dynamics, and even the algorithms that shape our online experiences.
Speaking of algorithms, it's amazing how much power they have in shaping our perceptions and influencing what we see online.
Yeah, it's like an invisible force almost guiding our attention, often without us even realizing it. We click on a video, like a post, or follow a particular account, and the algorithm takes note, tailoring our feed to show us more of what it thinks we want to see.
It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. We get stuck in these echo chambers, surrounded by content that reinforces our existing beliefs and biases.
Exactly, and that can be problematic because it limits our exposure to diverse perspectives and can even contribute to the spread of misinformation.
So how do we break free from the algorithm's grip? Is it even possible to curate a more balanced and enriching online experience?
It's definitely a challenge, but not impossible. I think the first step is awareness, recognizing that the algorithm exists and understanding how it works. That's crucial.
Once we understand the game, we can start playing it more strategically.
Exactly. We can be more intentional about the content we consume, the accounts we follow, and the types of interactions that we engage in.
We have the power to choose what we feed our minds, both online and offline.
Yeah, it's like building a healthy diet for your mind, Instead of just mindlessly scrolling through a feed of whatever the algorithm throws at you, you can actively seek out information, perspectives, and content that aligns with your values and interests.
So it's not about rejecting social media altogether, but about using it more mindfully and intentionally.
Absolutely. Social media can be a powerful tool for connection, learning, and even personal growth. But it's up to us to use it wisely.
This deep dive has definitely made me more aware of my own online behavior and the choices that I make. I think I'll be more mindful of the rabbit holes I go down and more intentional about the content I consume.
That's a great takeaway. And remember, these conversations don't have to end here.
Right. We encourage everyone listening to continue exploring these topics and share their own thoughts and experiences, maybe even start some discussions of their own.
And if you're enjoying these deep dives, the best way to stay connected is to subscribe to Voices of the Soul on your favorite podcast app.
And be sure to check out Shauna's YouTube channel, Shauna Polich, for more insightful content. Subscribing is the best way to make sure you don't miss out on future episodes and all the fascinating conversations we have here on Voices of the Soul.
Thanks for joining us on this journey of exploration. Until next time, keep those minds open, those hearts curious, and those conversations flowing.
See you on the next deep dive.